Hey, thanks for joining us today. I'm meteorologist Taylor Cox, and on this Monday afternoon, we are talking about some tropical activity that we have not seen in quite some time, right? Every single day we say the Atlantic is quiet, the Atlantic is quiet. Well, things are starting to heat up in the Atlantic, and we'll have your forecast here in just a few minutes. Cheyenne, over the weekend, wow, what an active weekend out in Wyoming. Got rocked at least once, I think actually twice earlier in the week. So a 4-star hailstorm was recorded on Friday, and we'll show you some really cool pictures from that in here in just a few minutes as well. And another risk for hail on the plains today. So we're talking about anywhere from Texas all the way up into Wyoming and Montana for storms again today and for tomorrow as well. Let's actually start with what we saw over the weekend. Hey, take a look at that. Friday afternoon and evening, we saw a storm, very textbook, come right into the middle of Cheyenne and then move off to the east side. Let's actually take a look at some of those pictures that we saw over the weekend. Holy moly, you could see just some massive hailstones just absolutely destroyed the back windshield of this car. I think that was a pretty common view across portions of Cheyenne, where we saw lots of busted car windows and busted house windows as well. These hail sizes were absolutely massive, and that warranted a 4-star hailstorm. Ooh, the back of that car window completely gone, and that looks like a house window as well. We'll get some data for that here in just a few minutes. Actually, let's fast forward to your hailstorm highlight here. So we were talking about how many houses got hit and how large was the hail. Baseball size hail from the pictures that you just saw. About 37,000 homes impacted in the area. And that was really all in Cheyenne, Wyoming. So this city itself got its own map. Very impressive here. Alrighty, so that was Friday. What are we expecting again today? Today we could see another round of storms up in the northern plains. It looks like Denver is out of this risk. However, we have portions of western Nebraska, we've got South Dakota, and we have Montana all included in the risk for today. We even have portions of our southern states included in the risk. It's a small risk down in places like Oklahoma, Colorado, and the panhandle of Texas. Tomorrow we go up to the northern plains, and then on Wednesday we have another risk for storms. But let's go back to today. I'm getting a little ahead of myself here. Let's talk about storms across the plains right now. It's pretty quiet out there, and I don't know if you love this word, but meteorologists, we don't really love this word. The storms for today in some areas are conditional. That means that we have some of the conditions right now for storms to fire, but we need a firing force. We need a good front to come in. We need something to really set off these storms. Our temperature is going to get warm enough. You know, there's some questions about exactly what's going to happen today. So we're watching for this area for those stronger storms later today. We actually do have some storms ongoing right now, mainly down in the southeastern portion of the U.S., where we have a flood risk along this area as well, and then we could see even a tropical cyclone formation over the next few days. We'll talk more about that. Don't get your hopes up quite yet. And then, of course, there's your plains where we're going to see all of the action later on today. Temperatures right now are obviously a lot warmer right along this area that we're expecting storms. We've got the 70s and 80s going on right now. 81 in Oklahoma City. Hey, we'll take it. It's a lot cooler than it was a few weeks ago, so we'll take that. But let's return to your storm risk today, okay? So here's your hail outlook today. What we're watching for here is we're watching for those orange and those reds for the largest hailstones. And where we're getting that is through Nebraska, especially the western side of the state, and then through places like South Dakota, and then maybe even down into the panhandle of Texas and Oklahoma. So let's fast forward to your hail trace hail forecast. Where are we seeing the largest hailstones today? I think that we could see widespread up to golf ball size hailstones and then very isolated up to baseball size hailstones in these areas highlighted here in orange. We've picked out places like western Nebraska and northwestern Kansas, so we're talking about Colby, Kansas here, for the best chance for larger hailstones. We put that in that yellow, that level 2 risk for hailstones. You go farther up to the north, sure, are you going to get hail? It's definitely possible, but it's going to be on the smaller side. We're talking about quarter size hail. Rapid City, it's going to be a pretty low risk for storms in this area. A few isolated storms. Talk about conditional. Yeah, you're going to see very conditional storm chance on the western side of South Dakota. I think maybe a few storms are possible in this area, but for the most part, most of those storms are going to be down in western Nebraska, northwestern Kansas, and then a few isolated storms down in Texas. And we'll get to your timeline here in just a few minutes. Let's get to your maximum hail size today. Tennis to baseball size hail, it's definitely possible. It's going to stay isolated. And again, there's still a few questions about what exactly is going to happen today. But is it possible to get tennis ball, baseball size hail? Yeah, absolutely. Your tornado risk in this area as well. Again, we pinpointed western Nebraska for some of the strongest storms today, also with a tornado risk, and then down into places like Oklahoma and the Texas Panhandle. We're talking about Clayton, New Mexico, northeastern New Mexico, also have a level 1 tornado risk. So it's isolated. Maybe a few tornadoes will pop up today. However, not a widespread event. Now, if you take your view up to the north a little bit. We're talking about South Dakota, Montana, Idaho. This is where your strong winds are going to be today. So Billings into Rapid City, we can see some very strong wind speeds. We're talking about 65 to 75 miles an hour here. Your very typical summertime storm system setup today, right? We're talking about the northern plains, and then we've got a little line that just goes to the east of the Rockies. This is very, very typical for this time of the year. Now let's take a look at your timeline here. Storms will go up this afternoon and evening hours and start to weaken as we head into the overnight hours tonight for most of us. Let's zoom down and talk about each area. So this area that we have our camera view on right now, this will be your high wind area. Idaho, Montana, portions of South Dakota, high wind from these scattered showers and thunderstorms that are expected later on today. This will bring a lot of rain to this area as well. However, I'm not worried about the flood risk. I think that this rain is very welcome right now. It keeps out that fire danger, right? Now as we move down to the south, we're going to go into places like Rapid City and even into the western side of Nebraska. Nope, we're going to stay in South Dakota. Okay, so let's stay in South Dakota here. Let's take a look at some of these isolated storms that are happening later on this afternoon and evening, right? You've got 1, 2, maybe 3 storms happening in this area. That's why I pinpointed this area for very isolated, very conditional storms today, right? You're not going to see a widespread amount of storms. Not everyone will get rain today. But if you go down to the south and if you go down into places like Nebraska, northern Kansas, and into Oklahoma, that's where you could see more widespread scattered showers and storms. Let's see this one more time here, where we are expecting some of these supercells to bring us some really large hail, as well as an isolated tornado or two. So there's your tornado risk today, up in Nebraska, northwestern Kansas, and then down into the panhandle of Oklahoma and Texas. Alrighty, before we move on here, John, are we good on questions right now? We're good. Okay, John's producing for us today. He's doing a great job. If you do have any weather questions for us, put that in the comments section, and John will make sure that your question gets shown on the screen. Let's talk about the flood risk for today. I mentioned that the flood risk wasn't too concerning up in Montana. I think it's going to be very, very low just because of the nature of these storms. You may see some ponding on roadways, very, very minimal. Where we're really watching for that flood risk today is out in the southeastern portion of the U.S., right along the Gulf Coast, right along the Atlantic coast here. Now, does this have anything to do with hurricane or tropical storm development? I'm going to fast forward, there we go, through my graphics here, and I want to get out to the Atlantic. Yes, we do have one area that we are keeping an eye on just in between Florida to Georgia and then up to South Carolina. This area has a very, very low chance for tropical cyclone development. We're talking about 20% chance here, very low. Really what you should have your eye on is over the next few days, we have an area just off the coast of Africa right now that is going to continue to move all the way across the Atlantic. And right in the middle of the Atlantic, we've got a 50% chance for tropical cyclone formation. Now that's pretty low right now and of the ocean, so it's not going to impact too many people right now. However, keep an eye on this. We may be talking about this same system this time next week, and we may have a lot more information for you. But as we go a little bit closer to the states, yeah, it's a 20% chance for, ooh, where'd that go? Hang on one second. Let me get you more information on this storm right here. I want to talk about Dexter. Have you guys seen on social media things about Dexter? All right, there's Dexter. You can see tropical cyclone, tropical storm up in the far right-hand corner of your screen. Again, 20-30% chance for a tropical cyclone formation out on the east coast here. It's a low chance. What's going to happen here is you're going to get showers and thunderstorms over the next 3 to 4 days, right? You're going to get a lot of rain in this area, which is why we have that ongoing flood risk that we showed you just a few minutes ago. Now let's talk about Dexter. Right now, Dexter is a tropical storm, and it looks like that's going to continue as this moves out to the north and east over the next few days. So look, Wednesday morning, has this storm impacted land? No, this is really a fish storm. You can see off on the east coast, we are not watching for this to make major impacts on land at all. Great news there. That's our 4th named storm of the season, and our next named storm will be Aaron. So we'll see if any one of these tropical disturbances right now can be Aaron in the next few days. All right, let's talk about your temperatures now. Temperatures are much more comfortable now than they were a week or two ago. In the 80s here in Oklahoma City, we'll take it. Look at that. It's never something you want to see this time of the year. We've got some red moving in. What does that mean? 10, 15, 20 degrees above average. That's gross. It's going to be hot, yep, over the next week or two. We told you this last week. We said the 2nd week of August looks a lot hotter than the 1st week of August. How hot are we talking? Mid-90s on Tuesday. A little bit warmer on Wednesday, a little bit warmer on Thursday. Yeah, it looks like temperatures are just going to keep on warming up. Can we hit 100 across the U.S. By Thursday? I think that's possible. Now, it's definitely possible in places like Oklahoma City and Dallas, but I think that this model is overdoing it just a little bit in Denver. Do we really think it's going to be 100 degrees on Thursday in Denver? Let's take a look at our long-term outlook here, August 9th through the 13th. So we are fully into the 2nd week of August right here, and it does look like temperatures are above average for this time of the year, not just for places that we've mentioned already, like the Southern Plains and the Rockies, but unfortunately it looks like temperatures all the way through the Midwest and the Northeast are also going to be above average. So we have a really good chance for warmer than normal, hotter than normal temperatures. What about our rainfall chances? Unfortunately, not looking good for the West Coast. Anytime we see very hot and very dry conditions, it's going to increase our fire chances. So your fire outlook most likely does not look good as we head into August. However, the rest of the U.S. is getting a good amount of rainfall. So we're talking about the Midwest all the way down to the Gulf Coast. It looks like your rainfall totals are pretty good. And there you go. There's your forecast. Thanks for joining us today. I'm meteorologist Taylor Cox. If you do have any weather questions, we're pretty good about answering those over the next few hours. I get on Facebook and Twitter and YouTube and answer your weather questions every now and then. So stick those in the comments section. And of course, we'll be back here, same time, same place with your forecast tomorrow. In the meantime, follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. And if you're interested in a hail, wind, or tornado map, we have those all on hailtrace.com, but you can always give us a call for more information. Call us at 855-334-4245 or email us at info@hailtrace.com. All right, thanks for joining us today. We'll see you back here for your forecast. Same time, same place tomorrow.